The trail runs along this marshy clearing for a good half a mile or so, and you'll get great views of it as you circle around the east side. Our calculated schedule for the day planned on us getting to Silver Lake nice and early, around 4 or 4:30, and we were right on pace for that and making great time since the trail today was fast and didn't have any areas of slow moving. We are probably half a mile from Canary Pond and then 2.3 miles from Silver Lake Lean-To, our destination for the day. So we are making great time. We should be there around between 4 and 4:30, which is pretty much right as we planned for. Bugs are still biting. Sun is out. A very nice, lovely time here in the woods, deep in the Adirondack Park. And we soon made it to Canary Pond, where we could see the glistening blue lake as the light from the clear sky bounced off the ripples through the trees. Nice big, bright blue color poking through the trees. And now we're walking up the bank along the pond. And it's nice and big, nice and blue. I would like to jump in it. It's always so nice seeing the lake through the trees as you approach it, which happens constantly on the Northville-Placid Trail in particular. There's a great tent campsite at this pond, which is very good sized and felt more like a lake in my mind. And the campsite is right out at the point, so it's a good spot. We stopped and checked out the scenery for a minute, and then we continued on since we were only 2.3 miles from Silver Lake, our destination for the day. The trail at this point winds its way around the pond on a narrow path between small spruce trees. Elbow scratchers, if you will. And for the most part today, there were very few sections of trail on logging roads. Some of the NPT runs on logging roads or tote roads for miles, and then other sections like today, you don't see them at all. For the most part, the trail today was probably 4 feet wide, with that 12-inch dirt path down the middle and greenery along both sides of it. Just picture perfect. From Canary Pond all the way until Silver Lake was definitely the point in the day that was the hottest and the quietest. The three of us knew we were only a couple of miles from our campsite, so the day was winding down, and we had already done 13 miles or so by this point, and we just kind of hiked silently to ourselves, each of us lost in our own thoughts and in our own little worlds. During this stretch of silence, the three of us walked up to the largest downed tree that I've ever seen in my life. And the scary part is, while the tree itself was one of those enormous original growth pine trees where you could wrap your arms around it if you bear hugged it 3 or 4 times around, but the tree didn't fall from being dead or rotten. It was blown over and uprooted at the roots. Hence the term uprooted. But the roots themselves were easily 15 feet high. And I'm not kidding when I say I have never seen a tree of this size down, especially in this manner. To think of the force needed to uproot a tree of this size is scary. Man, Mother Nature is so badass. Not long after we climbed over this Goliath of a tree, as we all walked in silence, I saw that blue glow once again through the trees. Silver Lake. Yes. Silver Lake. Silver Lake. It's camping time on the NPT. And at that point, I felt like a pressure valve released, and I let all the steam out because I remembered the lean-to was just at the beginning of the lake. Exactly what I did with Jonathan last week at Spruce Lake. But as it turned out, my memory failed me once again. Yeah, sure, it's at the beginning of the lake, if you're hiking northbound. But we're going southbound. So it's actually at the other end of the lake. So, we weren't quite there yet. Once again. And I will say, that last half a mile felt like 5 miles. But then we saw a sign saying lean-to, and we saw the lean-to at 4:15 p.m., just as James and I predicted. You can't get much more between 4 and 4:30 as 4:15 p.m. We were there. The Silver Lake Lean-To, the final lean-to on the NPT. The short day is complete. Plenty of time to hang out and take the boots off, relax, go down to the water, maybe put the feet in, make a fire. Should be a good time. Day 7 on the Northville-Placid Trail was complete. 15 miles and only 8 hours since signing in. So a nice light day allowing my feet and body to be ready for the big 24-mile push to Northville tomorrow, which I have yet to do on any section in terms of the mileage. I usually hammer out the big miles on day 1 and make day 2 lighter, but due to where this lean-to landed, along with the other campsites and our desire to stay at this lean-to, this is how the cookie crumbled. But now that we were at Silver Lake, it was time to set up camp. Though the bugs would just not quit. Not long after arriving at camp, I of course kicked off my boots, which for the first time ever were actually dry, completely dry, and then I put on my Crocs. That's step 1 always, well, most of the time. Then step 2, crush a post-hike king-size Snickers bar. Hungry? Why wait? Grab a Snickers. You're not you when you're hungry. Sarah then walked down to the lake and James suited up to continue the battle of the bugs. About 10 minutes later, Sarah walked back up the hill to the lean-to and she said there were some other campers down near the water at the tent campsite. So we'd have company tonight. We talked to them for a little bit and it turns out they had been camping down there for days, just enjoying some camping. And they also said the bugs will leave once the sun goes down. But since it was only 4:15 p.m. when we arrived, and the end of May, aka the longer days of the year, we had a good 4.5 hours until the sun went down. And when every passing second is noticeable, thanks to these bugs, we had to do something to keep our minds off of them. So I decided to do something that I've wanted to do since my first hike on the NPT, but never had the chance, due to the winter temperatures and the freezing cold rivers and lakes. I was determined to put my feet in the water after a hike. It's happening. One of the big reasons I think hiking the NPT is so great is because after every day you can jump in a river or a lake. If you hike this in the late spring or the summer, even the early fall. Since I had yet to experience that, and this was my final night of camping, I was going to relax down at the water and put my feet in. So I walked down the bank to Silver Lake, found a good rock, I sat on it, and I stuck my feet in the not too cold, yet chilly enough water, and it was heavenly. Wow. So this is what I've been missing. And then before you knew it, I was standing up, walking around in the water, putting my arms in to rinse them off, and then I rinsed my head off, and then I just went for it. I jumped in, and I can't explain to you how perfect this felt. It was just what I needed and what I wanted. I didn't swim, but I went under the water for a little bit, and then I stood up, and then a few minutes later I went under again for maybe 10 seconds, and then I got out of the lake, dried off, and walked back up to the lean-to. Feeling like a champion, of course. A clean, lake-rinsed, post-hike, cooled-off champion. Where I was then told by Sarah, hey, so I got a leech on me when I was at the lake, so check for leeches. Damn. But fortunately, as it turns out, I survived the leeches. I was only prey to the bugs today, not the leeches. After I dried off and changed into fresh clothes, the same clothes that I hike in tomorrow, James and I decided to start a campfire way earlier than usual in an effort to fight off all these bugs. It wasn't even 5 p.m. yet, which would mean needing a lot of wood to keep it burning for at least a few hours. Well, I had an amazing dip in the water once we got here. Felt great. I feel like a new man. Now we were looking for some wood to build a fire to attempt to beat the bugs. Hopefully that works. Not a lot of wood in the area, so it's going to take a minute to accumulate the amount of wood that we need. Since it's still early and we have quite a while until the sun goes down and we go to sleep. Nice time to hang out though, so that's good. But after we build the fire, going to make some dinner. But I think we're going to go to bed early tonight so we can hit the trail nice and early. We have 24 miles to Northville. And it looks like tonight is going to be a very nice night here at Silver Lake. I can't believe I'm actually here. One more day until the finish line. Pretty excited. So we gathered some wood, which we had to go far into the forest to find since the site was picked pretty well and there wasn't a lot of dry wood to be found near the campsite. But we gathered what we needed and I began building the fire. Log cabin, per usual, my go-to. The fire started quickly and despite the sun being a few hours from setting, we had the fire going. And the smoke was helping with the bugs, though inside the lean-to they were still pretty rough. But I will say it was rather nice having a lot of time at the campsite tonight. Thus far, I haven't really had that experience at the campsite, so it was nice to get there and just relax for a while. About an hour later, we kept feeding the fire, and then I made dinner. Fired up my camp stove, made some chicken and rice. Then after dinner, we continued relaxing at the lean-to. Well, relaxing as much as we could given the fact that the bugs were completely relentless. In an effort to fight them off, I had my bug net on, and I had base layers on top and bottom to cover all of my limbs, so I was pretty sweaty. But at least the bugs couldn't touch me. After dinner, the three of us just hung out, gathered more wood, and kept feeding the fire before we were met with the most amazing sunset over Silver Lake that I've ever seen. The sunset was bright orange and pink, and the lake was like a mirror to the sky, and puffy clouds scattered all around and reflecting off the water. So as the sun went down, and our fire had been burning for hours now, we made the decision to let it burn out and hit the hay early. So I went behind the lean-to and hung the bear bag for the night. And despite the clear skies and no precipitation expected, I brought all my gear inside the lean-to just in case. Which, spoiler alert again, it actually did rain overnight. So thank God I brought my pack and boots in the lean-to. But tomorrow was going to be a long day, almost 10 miles further than today. So sleep was a must. Day 7 and 113 miles on the NPT were in the books. One more day to go, 24 miles to the finish line. Time to get some sleep here at Silver Lake. Well, another successful day in the woods and another day down on the Northville-Placid Trail. 15 miles from Piseco to Silver Lake was complete, and only one more day to go. Today's hike took us past my first hikers on the trail and my first experience with bugs out here, but it was also the first time I was able to enjoy a swim at the end of the day. Next time on 46 of 46, we'll head 24 miles south to Northville to complete the trail, no matter how badly our feet might hurt. That's next time on 46 of 46. Thanks again to Jonathan Zaharik for the ride to the trailhead today, and thanks to Sarah and James for coming along for the adventure, and thanks to all of you for listening to my backpacking journey here on the 46 of 46 podcast, the Northville-Placid Trail edition. Check back next Friday for the final episode on the NPT. Remember to always leave no trace, do the rock walk, and if you carry it in, carry it out. Everything, every time. Banana peels and all, folks. See you on the trails. Pure ADK is an online community and lifestyle brand that creates Adirondack-inspired apparel and goods. They're all about sharing their adventures and creating quality products that are a reflection of the outdoor lifestyle and activities we love in the Adirondack Mountains. Whether born and raised an Adirondack native or a frequent vacationer, we all have a common bond, those feelings and memories that the Adirondacks evoke in us. As a bonus for listeners of the podcast, they're providing a 15% off discount. When shopping in their online store, use the promo code 46podcast to redeem the offer. PureAdirondacks.com. Check it out. 46 Podcast. Pure ADK. Exploration Unbound.